Every game you've ever played, you need a competitor. So don't be mad at your enemy that you perceive to be your enemy. Don't be mad at your government that you perceive to be a problem. Don't be mad at mainstream media. You need to grow. You literally need a competitor. You just need to understand you're in that game, and the game is teaching you unconditional love. So it's going, can you love Nancy Grace? The first thing I want to say is remember what you want. Like, remember what your soul wants. Remember what does it want? Because there's so many actions we make that aren't what the soul wants. You know, it's like, well, I just want to, get this or that, or I want to get seen, or I want to get seen by this person that doesn't even see me, versus like going, what do I want? I want to know what I am. I want to experience total oneness. I want to experience absolute freedom. That's my first priority. And that's how I move. And I am so willing to do whatever I need to do to make everything I'm not collapse, to not make, but to allow everything I'm not to collapse. And I've had a lot of things that I could easily be attached to. I've had an incredible experience as a speaker, and all these different things that I've done. They aren't me. And I'm not saying I'm going to actively knock them over, but my attachment to them, or what I perceive myself to be, has nothing to do with that. And it's up to me to move towards those things, and not just grab onto the neediness that the ego kicks in and says, I gotta be seen. I gotta just fill this void with something. How about just fill this void with seeing the void? How about just, anything that's falling apart, man, this is an opportunity for you to become what you truly are right now, right? This is an opportunity to become what you truly are. And you will swear life was what you thought it was, but it isn't. Life is not what you thought it was. And you came to this planet for a reason. We're not just supposed to find a bunch of nothing and actively survive and just get enough money and just make it to the next day and have whatever. Like, there's a reason you're here. There's a reason you're here and that you're watching this. There's a reason you're here, and you get to be on the front lines, one of the first, group of people that is here to follow your heart. I was watching something that said the next portal that opens is December 21st, and that's beautiful. And I'm sure not saying that's not true, but what if you're the portal to what you are? Can you play with the idea of what if I'm the portal to what I want to be? Like, what if I don't need any external permission? What if all of that external permission is actually existing within me? Is that something that you can experience as true? It's like, you don't need the right date. You don't need the right astrology. It can help, but all of those things are a permission for you to be the portal for yourself, right? Undo the need for external permission, unless you comprehend that you will create whatever external permission that you need, but you're creating it within your world. So you can create, I'm looking for a sign to give myself permission to do what I already want to do. If you're looking for a sign, you already want to do it. If you're looking for a sign that you can do what you want to do, you already want to do it. So that's your sign, that desire, that calling. And what you're moving towards already is allowed. And it's scary because you don't know what it looks like. It's scary because you haven't seen it before. It's scary because it's the death of what you thought you are. But all of what you thought you are is collapsing. It is. You can see it's collapsing. What you grabbed onto for external certainty is collapsing. It doesn't work. So then what happens? The inside collapses too. And then you lose just constructs and concepts. The idea that you are what you were when you were a kid, that you are the future accomplishment, that you are anything that needs an outside support beam to lean on. You don't. Only the ego needs that external support beam to lean on. So when you don't grab that external support beam, you'll watch it fall over. And I'll tell you, I really did. I spent a lot of the weekend, a lot of the last 5 days crying and crying, and then just more now. And this kind of knowing that I'm all of this, and even time exists within me, right? Any time that I perceive as existing with the all that isness of me, like this whole thing is me, this whole thing is you. Be connected to, and anything that's blocking your understanding of that is just, it's just trauma. That's just a character you created on top of trauma. And the more you just feel the all that isness, the safer you are for that trauma to go, hey, you know what? We've graduated. We can leave now. And then it falls out within you. The trauma falls out within you. You are all of this. So the fear and that neediness and the chasing and the addiction all is falling out within you. It's just a blocked thing collapsing into you. What do you want? I want oneness. I want to know what I am. I want to know what I truly am. So much that I will let go of all familiar patterns that are in the way of what I am. Even if I have a complete memory of 44 years of being a different story than the truth of what I am, that's still not what I am. They can exist, but they used to exist before my knowing of what I am. In fact, I used to go upstairs to getting closer to what I am. I mean, we were always ascending, we're always moving forward. You're always moving forward. Do you know that? Even if you swear you're moving backwards. Can you be with that? You know, you're 100% of the time moving forward, even if you think you move backwards. If you're like, oh, I let go of that person and then I addictively called them again and brought them back in my life, you're still moving forward. It might have needed you to do that to bring up other stuff. It might have needed you to, do you get this? It might have needed to show you something more about you. It might have needed to make it so that you really leverage yourself to change. Like maybe it was you're supposed to bring it in your life once more so it could get really bad. So you could go, okay, never again that. And then really give yourself that boundary for the next level of your life. You're always growing, even if you think you're not. You're always growing, even if you think you're not. The more you do this, the more you start to play with concepts like, is there free will at all? You know, I think on one level there is free will, and then on another level there isn't. Let's play with this. Okay, so let's say you have the choice between chocolate and vanilla ice cream. So you pick chocolate ice cream. Well, you had a desire that chose that. That desire is out of your control. And you might go, well, no, because I connected with my grandma and she used to, okay, yeah, but that was out of your control. So everything you're choosing, are you choosing it, or is a calling showing up and forcing you to choose it? Is your awareness higher with the choice that you make? Are we always just selecting what our highest awareness is? And you might be like, nah, because I could totally choose to eat 9 birthday cakes right now and totally keep doing that. And I could be like, yeah, but you already are using that as an example because it's your awareness is past the level that thinks that that right there is your highest. So you're still going to choose your highest. You're always choosing your highest. Even if you swear you're choosing your lowest, you're choosing it to learn something on the way. So what if there's no you? What if the screaming for the illusion of choice is what separates you? What if you are screaming, no, I'm choosing this. I'm choosing this. Is that ego needing control? And What if the belief that you choose something is something that you can use to keep blame going for other people? Like you can be like, no, my mom knew what she was doing so that you never have to quite forgive her. And if you can choose everything, why don't you then forgive her? If you can choose everything, why don't you choose your freest you right now? Play with that for a second, right? And at one frequency, I really do believe you do experience the experience of choice. And the higher you go, you start to realize this is just life experiencing itself. Like whatever you think you're choosing right now, why couldn't you choose that yesterday? You didn't have the same awareness. You might think someone else could choose differently, and maybe they could if you had their body, but if you had their body, then you'd be choosing what they choose. So is there choice? Do you get this? I mean, if you could be anyone, like if you take anyone, right? And you go, okay, if I had their body, their history, their life, their DNA, their whatever, you would be exactly making the same moves they made. So what if there is no choice? What if you just think you're choosing something? And then people would go, well, why would we choose all these dark things? Why would we choose this world? Well, let's think about this. Right now we make video games, and the video games simulate wars a lot of times, right? They simulate shootouts and dark things. And they're getting more and more and more realistic, and people are buying them and choosing to experience something that causes darkness and causes pain. And if you could get it to the video game could undo your memory of the fact that you're playing a video game, a lot of people would still choose it, I bet. I'm playing a game that's so realistic, I don't even know it's a video game. And if you could have your memory wiped out that you're playing a video game, you might still choose to play the video game and literally be in a war zone or in a shootout or whatever. Why would we choose that? Why would we choose something darker? Why do we create little competitions like football games and board games and everything? I'm going to have a simulated war with myself, right? That has an outcome that really inevitably doesn't really matter. Why would we choose that? And what if that's what this is? What if Source wanted to experience itself, so it needed to create what we see in movies, and that's your life? Let's play with that for a minute. What if your life is the most riveting movie ever? And we overlook it, wish we were someone else, or we watch simulated bullshit things. What if your life is the most riveting movie ever? Like, I am watching a movie right now. It is so good, you guys. I'm in the middle of this movie. It's crazy. It's about this guy. He's under the illusion that he's separate, right? And he spends 44 years of his life like becoming a stand-up comic and like thinking then he gets love from the audiences that way. It's such a good movie, you guys. And then at one point he has this revelation that he's even more than his dream career. It's crazy. And then he lets go of it, and he watches, you know, he watches something new, and he becomes something new, and he finds himself in a thing, and he creates this company called Evolving Out Loud. It's the craziest movie. And he thinks that that's the answer to his life for a long time, and speaks so truly and so freely, and it's just so amazing. But then he has a daughter and like learns a whole new meaning of life. You guys, it's such a good movie, right? And in the having a daughter, he starts to find that that's even more profound than the work he's doing. It's still great, but it's awesome, you guys. It's such a good movie. And at one point he transcends shame, and he starts to find all of these synchronicities in life. Like, he just discovers all these synchronicities in his life that all these kind of magical things are there. And he starts to realize that the whole freaking universe exists within him. It's so good, you guys. It's a long movie. It's still going, but it's amazing. And every one of you could watch the movie of your life. You could watch the movie of your mom's life. And you might think your life is not as riveting as a movie, but I promise you, if I started talking to you about your life, what your life is, it's amazing. Even if you're like, I could take any of you and be like, oh my God, you're watching this movie. It's amazing about a person who thinks that there's no value in their life, or it could be a person who's just totally working at a job they don't like so they can learn the truth of who they are, or you know, they think the answer is in being able to get the right relationship and they can't. And it just all falls apart. I could go to every single one of you and show you how your life is the most riveting movie, better than any movie we've ever seen, better than Back to the Future, better than anything. Parenthood, any of the Parenthoods, the Steve Martin one or the weirder show. Like, it's so, your story so good. It's so riveting. And here's the best part of the movie. The character in your movie and my movie too often overlooks how riveting they are, and they trick themselves into constantly thinking the answer is on the outside. And they don't even notice how unbelievably riveting their life is. And that night before Thanksgiving, so many of them start to go, holy shit. I don't care what you got. Your life is more riveting than any movie that's ever been made. And you could do it with someone, you know, from 100 years ago. It's a story of an old woman who thinks she didn't add value, but she did also give birth to this, and then actually created a dark space for her kid to find themselves. And she was lost, and there was no connection to herself. But that's because back then in those movies, like, we didn't have connection to ourselves the way we do now in the same way. And still they served such a purpose and created space for so much to come through. The movie of every person's life is just riveting. The movie of your life is riveting. And right now you're on the part where they're right at the edge of discovering something. Like, I'm right at the middle of this movie, this potentially 100-year movie right now. I don't know how long it goes. It's long. I don't have the ability to do that, pause it on YouTube and see how long I'm gonna have to sit through it. But I'm just so interested in where, dude, right now he's at this place where he really understands that everything he ever did serves such a purpose, while at the same time having nothing to do with what he is. And in this place, he lets go of more and more external authority, because he realizes he doesn't need permission to be what he is. He just sits there and is present, and feels through a combination of pain, but also sees the pain and the wholeness of all that he is right now, and finds that that's the highest priority in his life, to just allow the all that isness of the now to be 100% seen, while at the same time thanking and saying goodbye to the aspects of what he thought he was. And it's everything he's ever known. At one point this last weekend, Vivi was watching Splash and I was in the other room. And I noticed every time I got teary-eyed, Splash would go to a song montage. Like when Daryl Hannah's mermaiding through the water, it'd be like this beautiful slow song. It was almost like the movie was scoring my emotions. And then I realized movies in the 80s were a way that I was connected to my dad. You know, I bonded with my dad, or the most connection I felt with my dad was during 80s comedies, like a good Steve Martin or Tom Hanks type movie. And I started thanking the movie and those things for protecting me. because to a lot of people, watching TV with someone isn't connection, but to me, the alternative was worse. I had my dad more during those movies than without them. So it happened to be near the end of the movie, but I just said out loud, like, thank you to these movies for protecting me. And thank you to that time. And I just saw this glimpse of my whole family. And then it was right when the last scene happens, when Tom Hanks jumps in with Daryl Hannah and it's playing this beautiful slow song. And I'm just gone crying. Thank you to all the character that I was that didn't know what I know now. A new level of me will take it from here. And always, you have to remember that death is a part of life, and all day parts of you are dying, and those parts of you aren't you. They're just, they were the part on the rocket ship that got it to space, that once it gets into space, it falls off. Like, it needs it to get to space. So that's the free will part. And then once it falls off, there's no free will, right? It's now just doing what it does under the illusion of free will, right? And then you just have insights about the world, like how light and exponentially fast the light is winning. The light inside of you is winning. It's widening you. It's opening you up. So it's doing that to the world. You have to comprehend the world in a much wider now oneness. You feel the whole thing. It requires more space. It requires a lot of listening to space. It requires a lot of listening to just function now. You'll notice that the you, maybe, I could watch videos of me 3 years ago, and the energy of me was more piercing than what I feel now, because I'm all of this. Right? I'm all of this. So as the narrower, please see me mom starts to fall out of me, then it dies, because the see me mom pattern dies, and my mom died, and people that represented my mom are not nearly as close in my life. I widen my energy and feel the all that isness, right? Because this is me. So I just feel little trauma patterns falling into and dissolving into me. And it goes more and more if I decide that's my intention. If I feel some fear on the way and go, I got to call that person, I got to whatever, that's fine. But if I then call the person and go, I'm going to grab on, okay, we're going to just learn what we need to learn while we seemingly delay the move to the oneness. But we're going to play a little more in the false character of Kyle that really needs mom to see him. He wants to say goodbye one more time, or he wants to just say thank you to it. And one of the things that I've noticed is everything dissolves when I appreciate it versus try to overcome it. When I finally say thank you to that thing that usually seems like a negative thing, do you get this? It's always when I finally see it as perfect that it leaves. I can't ever try to overcome something and do it. It's like you're still judging it. Like, there might be a point where you say, thank you, media, for keeping me under some fear-based illusion so I could experience this now. I see you were imagine being a light that can handle that level of darkness. Thank you to my manipulators. Thank you to, do you get what I'm saying? Thank you, mainstream media. Thank you to control. Thank you to corrupt government. Thank you to it might not be today. That's another thing. It might not be today. It might not be today. You go, I'm in this. It's happening. It decides what it's doing. And it's always gradually changing. Just sometimes you might have a giant cry fallout at one random time that the universe decides. So you kind of surrender and just don't even try to get anywhere. It might not be now. Don't be in a hurry. Just merge with this now. I mean, we play simulating games where we actually create, I need to have an opposing person shooting at me. Like you're playing video games where you're literally stepping into a virtual person is shooting at you. Thousands of people. We got our kids at arcades doing that. Like I want to sit in a simulator of something that is a negative force that causes me to grow. Thank you, negative, dark energy, for causing me to grow. Like, can you find that level of love? And not just like, okay, I found it. Now is it over? I mean, really, every game you've ever played, you need a competitor. So don't be mad at your enemy that you perceive to be your enemy. Don't be mad at your government that you perceive to be a problem. Don't be mad at mainstream media. You need to grow. You literally need a competitor. You just need to understand you're in that game, and the game is teaching you unconditional love. So it's going, can you love Nancy Grace? Like that's like the ultimate test. They're saying now. I think it was Rumi that said, once you accept Creed and Nancy Grace, you've made it. And that's what I dare you to do. And this is a great thing to talk about right before the holidays, right? Because many of you are going to find some of the biggest triggers in your family ever, right? But if, can you find love for Nancy Grace? Like, can you just find in you and say, that's perfect. Nancy Grace is perfect. It's like Proverb 362 or something like that. Nancy Grace is perfect too. And it said, and then it's 363 is I'm sorry it took to 362 to say this. I've been facing that reality for the last 200 Proverbs and couldn't write it in the 100s. I don't know if you guys remember the old proverb. Kathy G remembers. Yeah, it was a big one. Huge proverb. So you're here to learn to love, and you can't really love until you've accepted Nancy Grace. Now, obviously I'm playing and making jokes, but what do you need to learn to love? What parent, what ex, it's all within you. Nancy Grace is within me. I have to go. No, right? That's crazy, right? Nickelback is within you. Do you get this? Like, you made that. You made that. And that person you think that is hurting you, you made that for your growth. That politician, Nancy Grace, like both of them. The politician or Nancy Grace. Take a deep breath in and find a love and a oneness that can include both of them. Any Nancy, Pelosi, Grace, just bring space in for all the Nancys. Just open your heart. My mom's name is Nancy. So I got that going, right? Everything. We're just bringing in all Nancys. all Joes, all Donalds, all Nancy Kerrigan, another one, right? All of them. And notice the parts when you think of, we make this as a joke, but as you look at someone that you can't forgive or that you feel is doing something to you right there, that's within you. That's happening within you.